Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another Silicon Labs Talking Tech podcast. The topic for today's episode is none other than the 2021 Works With event. I wanted to provide our listeners with the best incentive to get all of you to attend next week's event. This podcast will provide you with 4 different perspectives on why you should register and attend this industry-leading event. So to do that, I have invited 3 of my colleagues at Silicon Labs that have been instrumental in putting together Works With. I've invited Trisha Fields. She's the Director of Performance Marketing in our Global Marketing Group. Thanks, Trisha, for joining.
Thanks, Kyle.
Sure. And Dave Hoffman. Thanks, Dave, for joining.
Hey, Kyle.
Dave's the Regional Sales Director in the Americas, specifically for the Central region. So he has a great perspective for our customers. And then Tom Nordman. Tom is joining us from overseas in Finland. Tom, thanks for joining.
Hello, Kyle.
Tom has a unique perspective. He is in the IoT business unit, and he's responsible for all of our IoT wireless products and the marketing. So the marketing director in that group. So I think, Tom, you're going to give us some great input as far as what is coming for the event and why people should be excited. So thanks all of you guys for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kyle.
All right. Well, I have a question for each of you, so let's get started. All right, the first one, I'll start with you, Trisha. Trisha, you've worked on many different product marketing events around the world and with different companies. What do you think that customers will find unique about Works With versus some of the other events that you've been involved with?
Good question, Kyle. I think what really makes Works With unique is that it's really the only place where it's purely focused on the IoT industry, and it brings all these leaders together in one place. And for me, when I look at the event, what I'm super excited about are all the keynotes and panels. We have a great lineup. It's kind of the who's who in smart home, smart industries, security, industrial, kind of everything's represented there over 2 days. Basically in 48 hours, you can kind of get something about the IoT industry, through one of the sessions. And, to kick off, we've got Amazon, Ring, Google, and Schneider Electric on one stage to talk about, how they're thinking about Matter, the protocol's significance, kind of in simplifying product development, and also, how they're thinking about it for consumers, as well as how it impacts smart home, and then eventually the commercial roadmap. So I think that's a great way. We're starting off with those big brands on the stage, and then Day 2 does not disappoint with Landis and Gear, Google X, and the city of Austin, and they're going to talk about the future of smart cities technology. And there's so much in the news right now about infrastructure and what's happening with infrastructure, whether it's metering or lighting. And I think it'll be great to kind of get those leaders' perspectives on that. And then we've also got 5 phenomenal panels, and these are great because they're a cross section of people. We've got one with the IoT alliances and kind of representatives from all of those represented there. We've got one with security leaders talking about IoT security. Stacy Higginbotham is moderating one on smart medical, and it's focused on kind of how IoT has changed healthcare, as well as, how adoption has got to happen for us to really get there when it comes to smart medical. And then the final panel, I think, is one of those topics that has been on our customers' minds as well as consumers, and that's on the chip shortage and kind of insights into the future. And it's not from Silicon Labs, it's really from industry leaders that are going to be on there talking about what's going to happen in the future and how did this happen. And I think this one is going to be a super, super popular session.
Yeah, you mentioned the keynotes. The way I look at that is it's the attendees are listening in on a really great conversation. It's less of a classroom atmosphere, and it's more like you've been invited to a conversation with, as you mentioned, these industry leaders, and you get to learn what they're thinking and what their thoughts are on these topics that you're reading about in the news. So those are going to be great opportunities. You mentioned the big names like Amazon and Google and Schneider Electric. We have Stacy Higginbotham, an amazing podcast producer herself. So it's going to be a great event for people to get those perspectives.
Just real quick, just so I mention it too, because to close it out, we've got IKEA on stage. And I think that's going to be another one that, again, they are so focused on kind of creating that smarter, more sustainable world. I think at a time that all of us have never been in our houses more than we are right now, they really have that home first kind of focus, and they're looking at ways to make the home better and more connected, as well as looking at kind of making our lives better and a more sustainable world. So I think that is going to be another one too, to have all these big brands on stage, but closing it with IKEA is another good one.
Yeah, I have a few of the IKEA smart home products in my house, so it'll be great to hear what their plans are, what they see, in the IKEA smart home in the future. So that's great. Thanks, Trisha. So why don't we turn to Dave? So Dave, as I mentioned before, you're responsible for sales in the heartland of America. So you're touching all those customers that are in the central part of the United States. What have customers told you they're most excited about when you introduce the Works With event to them?
Kyle, by far the most excited addition to this event is the industrial and smart city focus. Last year was a huge success. Tons of customers came out, but it was primarily focused on the home and things around the home. And for Silicon Labs, half of our business is in the industrial and smart city space. And so to add something that can hit the Rust Belt, which most people would term the Central as the Rust Belt due to the fact that the products stay in the field so long that they could literally rust, having a focus around that is completely a different paradigm than last year. A lot of these industrial customers are moving from wired protocols and wired connectivity to wireless. So having classes around that is going to be really key. Things like YSUN, machine learning, AI, security, all these things are going to become table stakes and discussion points that these customers are going to want to talk about. As Trisha mentioned earlier, the having a focused keynote around smart city and industrial will be a great add. And then lastly, the when the chips are down panel, everyone from an intern to an executive should be interested in this, because this is affecting not only our industry, but probably up to the economy itself. The last thing that really is going to be impactful in the future that we've kind of touched on also was security. Ransom hacks are happening. It's really not if it can happen, it's just when. And as regulation becomes more and more demanded on this, being a leader in that space is going to be key, and educating our customers on how to implement this quickly and effectively is going to be one of the things that sets Silicon Labs apart from, I think, our competition.
Yeah, and just to follow up on the security you just brought up, we have, like with many of the topics, we have 5 hours of courses on security alone. So somebody can come in the morning, get an introductory class on security, start to understand some of those concerns, and then at the end of the day, there are hands-on labs where they're actually using some of our security tools. So, and that's going to address, as you said, the industrial, the smart home. It's a really great example of some of the topics that are going to address such a wide market versus just, a smart home or a smart light bulb.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Dave. And I know that your customers have been excited. We're up to over 4,500 registrations with a couple weeks to go. So a lot of interest from the customers. So we're really thrilled that the people are liking the agenda.
Yeah, and due to that being a virtual event and there's no travel involved, we know there's going to be a massive spike of customers signing up, even up to the last minute. So we're going to see a huge turnout for this.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Last specific question is for Tom. So Tom, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Kyle.
So Silicon Labs Wireless, I know the four of us think it's the best solution on earth. It's very exciting. It's been growing over the last 5 years. There's nothing like it. It's been growing out of this world. But why don't you talk about what are a few of the announcements and the product trainings that will be introduced for the first time at Works With? What should people, maybe not realize is available and it's going to be presented at Works With for the first time?
Yeah, this event is really the kind of real deal for developers to kind of go and learn from the burning questions there are actually in the field and in the markets. We can announce actually it's the whole announcement of the security is kind of laid down into the courses of general track. There is a lot of security there, and pain points we are addressing, actually what we are releasing, are the product lifecycle related things. The security is not just a feature on chip on a software, it's a lifecycle question, and we are going to tackle a lot of those questions on the trainings, including how you keep your product safe over the next 5 years. That is not a trivial, and we have a lot of good medicine to give, including also how we're going to guarantee software upgrades during the next 10 years. This is a massive promise Silicon Labs is putting out there. I think we are absolutely the only one who can kind of stand behind that claim. And then we are also releasing services, how you can program some of your devices in our facilities to be safely programmed. So all of these security announcements we're going to do, you will learn them by attending on the security courses, and it's a real deal, and there will be separate press announced around this topic. Another thing that I'm super excited actually is the whole term works with. It's kind of reflects that it works with everything. So all protocols of IoT. We are also entering in a new area where we're going to start offering a unification software across the different protocols. I don't tell too much about it anymore, so please join and hear what's that all about during the event. But it's the unification of protocols, including the latest Matter, Amazon Sidewalk, Z-Wave, to just give you a couple of hints. Then we will have a major launch coming up over there. We're going to go out and release something that is around long-range IoT, and for protocols that goes over mile, 10 years battery life, really groundbreaking SoC launch coming up. So I hope people are going to show up and hear what's the next 5 years going to look like in the IoT industry. I think we're going to put the stick on the ground.
Yeah, and I think you brought up all those great new topics, and that's the best thing about Works With is there's a lot of material out in the market where people can learn about things they're working on. But Works With is one of the events where you can go to and you're going to learn about, as you mentioned, 3 or 4 brand new topics. So it'll be the first day that a lot of these will be available to the public. So why not go to Works With, listen to some subject matter experts and some customers that are actually using these solutions, and then you hit the ground running with all these new solutions Silicon Labs is presenting.
Yeah, these are the really answering the pain points in the industry. These are not something that is kind of incremental improvement. These are really a new type of thinking around the security that market ever haven't seen before. So I'm super excited that it's gonna be available people to kind of learn and really kind of put into real applications.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. And the classes, I'm gonna kind of close on the question to myself, how these classes are organized, because I think that's important. Last year we did the event, and as Dave mentioned, it was very successful. But the feedback we had was people didn't know what class was right for them. So this year, what we've done is we've made it college style. And so the classes are indicated as a 100 level class. That's going to be great for everybody. It's an introductory class. It gives you a real executive view on a topic. Then we have a 200 class, and those are going to dive into some pretty deep details and some technical explanations. And that might be a little bit better for developers. But what I am most excited about as a training provider is the hands-on labs. We have 6 classes that are hands-on. And this is where the instructor is going to walk through the procedure and the attendee is expected to follow along. And those are they're roughly an hour and a half long. And it's going to be a great opportunity for the attendees to, experience and follow along on some pretty complex topics. We have Amazon going through how to design a sidewalk node. We have Google showing how to use their IoT management software for Matter solutions. We've got YSun with the new fan nodes and our new stack support. We have RTOS and how to quickly add it to nodes. And we have 2 classes on embedded machine learning. And I'm getting tired of just telling you guys about it. I think that's going to be exciting. If I'm a design engineer and I want to get some learning and I want to do hands-on work, I can attend Works With, get an introductory level explanation, and then end my day by doing some hands-on stuff. So I'm really excited about Works With. I think the explanations that you guys gave for why you think it's a great experience is really going to drive people to come and have us really have a great, successful event.
Hey, Kyle, I think it would be good to mention that all of these are going to be also, if you miss some while you're attending, go and check the recordings after the event.
Absolutely. So everything will be available on demand after the fact. I'm going to put the link to registration in the podcast explanation. I'm also going to include a link where you can go to get a free development kit. So as I mentioned, the hands-on lab, we actually have the pre-work and we have the kits available that are going to be used in those sessions. So those two things, registration and getting a free kit will be put in the podcast details. So I want to thank you guys for joining me today. I'm going to leave you with one last question. I'd like each of you to tell me one word that you would like every listener to associate Works With for 2021. If I had to choose a word, I would choose challenging. And what I mean by that is when I go to an event, I want to be challenged. I want to learn something new and really challenge myself to learn something that is a difficult topic. And I think that's what I want people to know is when they come to Works With, it's going to be challenging. What about you, Tom? What one word would you choose to describe Works With?
I would choose the inspirational. I think many people don't realize that we are actually changing the world going forward. We are giving tools to kind of change a lot of the problems around the climate change. For example, not the silver bullet to that, but we are a piece of the solving those. So I'm super inspired this opportunity.
That's a great one. What about you, Dave?
I'd say collaborative. When we work with all our partners to put this together, including, you'll see a lot of customers and design partners involved in every class to basically represent beyond just Silicon Labs, the work that's put into this and the people that are behind it. I think that's a real strong statement around this.
That's great. And what about you, Tricia?
I mean, as a marketer, I think I'd say brands. I mean, I think I am so impressed and proud of all the companies and customers that are participating, whether it's in a workshop style training or if it's on the main stage or one of the panels, but just to have all those people in one place. I know I said it earlier, but it's just, I'm excited about that and to kind of hear what they say as we kind of move this industry forward.
That's terrific. Well, thanks to the three of you. It's been great. And I know that you've encouraged our listeners to attend Works With what you've shared on our podcast today. I'd like to also thank all of our listeners. We appreciate you taking time to download and to listen to our Talking Tech podcast. Until next time, everyone, stay safe.